Just as we say that not much information has come out about Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, the Nintendo announces a new Direct. And of course, with the game coming out in little over a month, it was featured in this Direct and given a new English trailer. While not many new details came to light, we thought we'd take the opportunity to update the previous analysis and take a look at many of the ideas and corrections that you guys had. Of course, be sure to watch that analysis, as we'll be referring back to it. With that said, let's rev up the old analysis machine and get right to it. During the Direct, new details could be seen in the level designs. For one, we got our first look at the doors that will take you from one section of the level to the next, much like previous Kirby games. It's not surprising that they're here, but it's good to know nonetheless. Likewise, Bill Trinen revealed the name of one of the later levels, Blue Sky Palace, and its gimmick. Unlike some of the other levels we've seen, this one has no ground to rest on. Players must collect the paint jars and avoid enemies in order to survive. But that wasn't the only level we learned the name of. The third level of the first world is called the Great Cave Escape, which may be a small callback to the Great Cave Offensive. It looks like each level will have its own unique name. Again, nothing major, but more importantly is that we see the level select screen. And rather than the overworld look from Triple Deluxe, or the gradually opening doors from a host of Kirby games, this one flows one into the next. Before beginning, you can see your current medal, the star count, and how many of the chests you've found. Notably, the puzzle piece we saw before is not listed in the level collectibles, so there's still no clue to what it could do. However, we believe we've spotted another one in this new footage. While Kirby is facing new drill-like enemies, there are mysterious blue sparkles on the right behind a wall. These sparkles match perfectly with the ones that appear around the puzzle piece in the Japanese overview trailer. Well, we might not know what they do, but at the very least they're incredibly obvious to find. It's also worth noting that while sand can be cleared away, it will eventually reform. Just another example of players needing to be quick at times while guiding Kirby. Though we didn't learn anything about the puzzles, we did learn what was in the hidden area near the waterfall. In this footage we see that the block has been cleared to reveal a switch. Hitting the switch will cause stars to start dropping from the waterfall, so it's a bit of a bonus. But there's something that strikes us as odd. Once again, the player blocks off the waterfall with a paint line so that all of them can collect stars. Simple enough, but why bother if it doesn't hurt you? And we know it doesn't hurt you thanks to this small scene of Kirby star dashing through a waterfall. Now that could be due to invincibility frames, or maybe the player demonstrating the game was just trying to show off the feature. Nevertheless, we do have one more theory when it comes to the levels. The title screen for the game shows outer space in the background. Could the different worlds in the game be actual different worlds? It would explain the alien-like enemy designs that have popped up. Now that would be all for the levels, but you guys had a lot of things to set straight with me. For one, GDesign95 and many others pointed out that the buckets I highlighted before are actually dash cannons from Canvas Curse. These would hold Kirby in place until he did a dash that would then send him in the pointed direction. Likewise, many of you guys said that the green bars would serve a similar purpose, mainly stopping Kirby so that players could survey the area and make a plan. And there's also SaiyanGamer95 who pointed out that the loop dash was also in Canvas Curse. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, but it's been a while since I had played that game. That's on me for a lack of fact checking. Thanks for keeping me honest. But for now, let's move on to some of the new details that have come out about the treasure chest. Like we suspected, the figurines will have a display much like the keychains in Triple Deluxe, though there won't be any accompanying description like in Smash Bros. Strangely, to access the chests that you find, they must be tapped at the end of the level to be opened. Why the extra step? In all likelihood, it's just something extra for the touchscreen, but it still feels a little odd. The actual display case for these figurines is really cool though. The area is set up like you're in a clay modeling studio, and this can be easily seen when viewing the figurines individually. The selected figurine is placed on a sculpting mat, and there's a background that shows off all the tools as well as uncolored versions of the helmeted enemies. This scene is also where we see the first sign of Meta Knight, though notably he is not curled up in a ball like his Canvas Curse appearance. Will he appear as an ally or an enemy in this game? Or maybe even an unlockable replacement for Bandana D in multiplayer? The shelves displaying the figurines provide a great look at many of the characters and enemies in Rainbow Curse. But before we talk about them specifically, we wanted to point out the edges of the shelves. Specifically how you can see the edge on the left, but not on the right even after scrolling further. So there's actually a limited amount of shelf space. It also appears that spots will be filled in as the figurines are collected rather than immediately putting them in their place. This would explain why there's no space between Submarine Kirby and Rocket Kirby when we see the figurines for Bandana D with the tank and rocket transformations right next to the Kirby version of it. Obviously, the submarine version of Bandana D would go between Sub Kirby and Rocket Kirby. There are a few other things to note about the figurines though. We just pointed out the rocket version of Bandana D and can see that the tank version has a safety helmet as well as his cannon. We also see the return of Bouncy in addition to Gordo and a host of new enemies. But it's the twin Kirbys that caught our attention. Why two? What significance could they have to the game? Or are they just a fun example of some of Kirby's animations? In this case, sleeping and a wink. We're not sure, but the next screen also shows that Blado, Soarer, Shotzo, Cappy, Waddle-Doo, and Broomhatter will all return as well. So far, there seems to be quite a lot of new enemies for Rainbow Curse, yet there's still no sign of normal Waddle-Dees appearing as enemies. Instead, there's further evidence that the helmeted enemies will replace them since one figurine shows it holding a spear. Alright, we're almost done here, but let's go over a few more ideas that you guys had based on our previous analysis. First up, NintenFan64 points out that the flag that appears when Kirby is a sub may show where you touch with the stylus, and Kirby will actually move to that position. This is very different to how he controls in the rest of the game, but it does match up since the paint lines seem to focus on guiding the torpedoes. He goes on to suggest that the star dashes could be stackable. For every 100 stars you collect, that's another you can use at some point in the level. And speaking of dashing, Nintendo Guy 64 noticed that there's been no sign of Kirby being able to take enemy abilities by dashing into them. Doing so in Canvas Curse would grant an ability that replaced the typical dash. Is Nintendo just hiding it, or is that not a feature anymore? But another somewhat hidden element was spotted by Narwhal. He believes that the chest that appears in this scene was actually triggered by activating all of the nearby flowers. This does fit since we saw hidden things appear after defeating a crowd of enemies elsewhere in the trailer. Other things you guys noticed was the fact that the paint lines begin losing their color as they're about to disappear, that the spike balls in this scene are actually an attack by Wispy Woods, since you can even see the vines extending from him, which would explain where the gust of wind comes from, and that the beanstalk theme in one level can be seen growing out of a house in the background in a previous level, giving further credence to the levels flowing into each other. But arguably the biggest debate you guys had concerned the villain. Many pointed out that the song that plays when the hands appear is very similar to Necrodius' theme from Mass Attack, and he also has two floating hands in that game. It all seems to fit, but there are quite a few that believe that the villain will be someone named Glacia, who would obviously be related to Dralcia. We're not sure where the idea comes from, but it does seem to fit the theme. Finally, we learned a bit more about the compatible amiibo and the fact that they can only be used once per day and only on one stage, so they work more like cheats to help you through difficult spots. And of course, we get to see that the victory dance has indeed returned, with the Bandana Ds and even Ellen joining in on the fun. Oh wait, Ellen? A line? A line? Is that how you pronounce her name? Boy, is that ever an appropriate pun. But as we said before, it won't be long until Kirby and the Rainbow Curse is finally released, so you can be sure we'll be covering it in the meantime. As always, let us know if we still missed anything in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at GameXplain to keep up with everything we do. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Kirby and other things gaming.